All right. It's recording. Okay. Let's get started. All righty. All right. I've hit record. We are ready to go. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is thank you, first of all, for all coming and wanting to learn to set boundaries. What I'm going to talk about today is just basically what I've learned over the last 30 years in setting boundaries and how we react and how the people around us react to boundaries. Because when we set them, that's what we get to deal with, is how other people, how we accept people's boundaries, how we want to set our own boundaries, and then how other people receive them. All right, so I'm going to get going. Boundaries are fluid. That's one thing I want you to remember. I think a lot of times, I like to think of them as like a fence. So you have fences that are in your backyard, say. So you have a fence, it's to keep people out, it's to keep animals out, but there's a gate. So people are still allowed in. There's chain link fences that you can see through, that you can climb over. There's split rail fences where you can go through. So boundaries are just like that. They're ever changing. You get to decide when you change your boundaries. You get to decide what to do with your boundaries. And the same with other people. They get to change theirs as well. So don't think of them as like this just wall. Like you have to, like you set a boundary and it's never going to change, because that's not true. Everything we do is fluid. So boundaries are going to be fluid too. With that being said, though, it doesn't mean you change your boundaries all the time just to suit other people. So we're going to talk about that. There are three types of people, I think, in their boundary setting. And I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but I personally have been all three at one point in time. Sometimes I'm multiple at the same time, but let's just go through them and we can see where you fit in. The first one is the yes girl. You say yes to everything all the time, all the time. You say yes because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. You don't want to look bitchy. You want others to like you. I think all of us want people to like us. You want to be popular. You want to be needed. You want to be the good friend, the good parent, the good daughter, the good wife, the good employee, whatever that looks like. So we say yes to things all the time. The first lesson is it's okay to say no. It's 100% okay to draw a line in the sand and say no. When you say no to others, you are being kind to yourself, but you're not being mean to them. And I think that's one of the things we think is, oh, I'm going to say no to this and they're going to think that I'm mean. No, you're just being kind to yourself. It's okay to love yourself and it's okay to feel good about it. And I think a lot of times, depending on how we were raised, we may think otherwise. We may think, well, I shouldn't do that because it makes me not a good person. That is so weird. Are you there? Could you see that come up on there?
Yeah.
My phone's on do not disturb. Now I'm disturbed. So, all right. Where was I? It's okay to love yourself. It's okay to feel good about it. And if you don't love yourself, we're going to figure out why and why that's hard for you. When you say no, I feel like when you say no, you're giving other people permission to say no as well, and that empowers them. It leaves us feeling a sense of empowerment, that it's not mean and that it's okay to take care of yourself first. You have to know your tribe. You have to know your family. You know that there's going to be people that put up roadblocks, like stop you and be like, no, we don't want you to do this, or you're being mean. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Just take a mental note of who does a fantastic job of making you feel guilty if you say no. Or when you start setting boundaries, they're going to be the ones that are uncomfortable, maybe because you've always met their needs and now maybe you're not as much. Maybe you're going to meet your own needs first and they're going to be the ones that put up that roadblock. So be prepared for that. They may not like you saying no, but that's okay. I always love to use an example because I think we've all done this. So you're super excited that you have a night home alone to yourself all by yourself. So I'm all about taking a bath and getting my jammies and drinking wine and having popcorn for dinner and watching a movie totally uninterrupted. It's like, I mean, you look forward to it. You're like, this is going to be awesome. And then you have a friend that calls that says, hey, I know you're home alone. We should go out. And so you think, okay, I'll go have one drink. And then I'll come home and take a bath and watch a movie, right? But you're gone for like 3 hours. You are more exhausted than you were. And now you're pissy because you went and met somebody else's needs first, even though your needs were very simple and important. And we walk away and we end up being angry. The first person we're angry with is our friend, like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. The person we really need to be angry with is ourselves for not just saying, gosh, you know what? Thank you so much for the invite. I am so excited to be home alone tonight. I've got it all planned out. I can't wait. Can we get together another time and just set another date? It's not like you're saying no, you're just saying no today. I don't want to today. I think too, what happens when we say no is that they beg, right? They give you a bunch of crap for saying no, like there's something wrong with you for saying no. And now you've become their trigger of choice. And now they can kind of attack you for choosing what's best for you. So you automatically just have to get in the habit of choosing you first. Doesn't mean that you're not choosing other people and you're not giving to other people. It's just okay to choose you first, because I think most of the time we're like second, third, fourth, fifth on the list because we want to be helpful. I think most of us feel like, and it's rewarding in some ways, and we're going to talk about that too. But we have to be okay with being like, no, I'm important here and I'm as or more so important than the other person. It's going to feel difficult at first. It's going to feel yucky sometimes. So you have to allow yourself some time. You have to allow yourself the strength to do it. Because the first time you want to say no, you may still say yes. And then you're going to be like, oh, so you have a choice. You can go back and tell them, you know what, I really don't want to do that. Or you can go and then say no the next time. The more you practice saying no, the easier it gets. The easier. We always have, you know, I talked last time about the friend that shows up at your door unexpected. And things, I would not answer my door. That's me. I'm the person that's like, oh, unknown phone number on my phone. No, not going to answer. Oh, somebody's at my door. No, not going to answer. Amazon, UPS, FedEx, they all just leave it there for you. So I'm the person that's always like, oh, I'm not going to answer my door. My husband jumps to answer the door, and then lets everybody in because he like thinks that's a party. And I'm always like, are you kidding me? So it's okay to answer the door and say to somebody, you know what? It's not a good time today. I've got lots of things I need to get done. If I have to clean the house, I have to like mentally prepare for that because I hate it. So the distraction would be good, but then it never gets done. So it's not mean to turn them away. It's okay to set that boundary. You're just telling them not now. Same thing when a friend calls. We all have that friend that calls that can talk forever. Hours. I met with a friend for coffee a couple weeks ago. Hours. It wasn't bad. I had the time. I knew I had the time and she needed to talk. That's very different than when you have things you have to do. It's very hard sometimes not to answer the phone for a friend or for your kiddos or whatever. But we just have to get into those habits. How many people's kiddos call with different things they need, whether it's money or whether it's, you know, support of some sort, and we immediately jump, even though it can be dealt with later, right? So tune into that. Start by saying no with small things. Girl Scouts at the grocery store right now. It's okay to say no to them. The extended warranty on your car, the 50 phone calls you get a day, you could just answer them all and just say no. Don't get in the habit. The guy passing out skincare samples at the mall, at the kiosk. Oh my gosh. You take a sample because you're trying to be nice. The next thing you know, they're putting all kinds of crap on your face and telling you, you look exhausted and like crap. And you're like, wait a minute. Say no, just no samples. No, they are the most persistent people I have ever met in my entire life at every mall in the country. So just start there. Just start with those types of things where they don't know you. They have no, you're not being rude. You're not being mean. Just say no, thank you, and move on. Let's see. When something comes up and you want to say no, be direct. Use no without feeling guilty. You don't have to feel guilty. It's not a weapon. It's a word. Just remember that no is not a weapon. It's just a word. Stop feeling bad. You don't owe people a reason. You know, we get all tied up in making excuses or telling little white lies. Just say no. I don't know about you, but I have been known to tell a little white lie. I have been busted every damn time. So I had a gal that was coming over here to do some shopping, and I love her. She was supposed to come at a certain time and she was early, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I told her I wasn't home yet. And she's like, that's okay. I'm just sitting outside your house. Now guys, stop and think. I'm not home, but I'm going to have to pull up, my car's in the garage. How am I going to get home without her seeing me? So my little white lie turned into like, oh my God. And then I was like, you're just a jackass, and just should have said, I'm not ready. I'll be ready in half an hour, because the alternative was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Like, I don't even know what I was thinking. So keep in mind those little things where you get caught up and then you're just like, oh, this is 100,000 times worse. Remember that no equals self-love. That's huge. All right. So we're either the yes girl, or we're the one that holds people at a distance, right? So we are the ones that say no all the time when we should be saying yes. These are the people that have set up walls for protection. And it's all about the no. They will say no to everything because they can't be bothered, because they don't want to, because they're protecting themselves from whatever they feel like that is. There are times when we have to say yes. We have to get out of our own comfort zone and into a growth zone. So if your habit is to say no, look at why. Why are you saying no? Have you been burned before? Have you been hurt by somebody? Have you been told something like in a public situation where you're, I don't know, you'd never want to go back? So try something new. Be willing to go and try something new. If somebody says, hey, let's go do this, think about it. Is there any reason why not to? If not, go. Do networking, promoting your business, building relationships with the people that can offer you support. Playing it safe doesn't always serve us. Like, there's times and places for it, I believe. I believe that some of us don't want to be vulnerable with other people, and I get that. That would be me. So you have to look at what patterns you've established for yourself. It's time to look at what you really need and what you want in order to make things work for you, in order to grow personally, professionally, and in your relationships. We have to learn to ask for help. Are you so used to doing everything that for yourself that we don't ask for help? Because I know as moms, as wives, as good employees, or what we think good employees are, we just do it all and don't ask for help. We may not ask for help because we're going to save a few bucks, or we're going to save time because we don't want to train somebody because that's a pain in the butt. Do you have so much on your plate that anxiety kicks in? And then you are in such a state of overwhelm that you can't even know when to start. So we have to look at those areas for growth. What do you need to ask for? So for example, let's say you decide, I'm going to take on some new workouts. I'm going to try some new things. And so it may mean calling to try to set up a free class. Like, do you want to try cycle? Do you want to do bar? Do you want to do Pilates? Do you want to go to Jazzercise, Zumba, whatever that is? You have to call and set that up. You may need to ask for a training partner. Let's say you want to run a race. Who wants to go run a marathon? I've been there and done that, but I'm not doing that again. But you need to find somebody to train with. So what fears do you have around something like that? Are you worried someone may reject you or not like you, or that you'll suck at whatever the thing is? Are you worried that you'll ask someone to be a training partner or an accountability partner, and then you'll find out that you don't like them? And then how do you get out of that? I had a gal that I used to walk with it was for a while, it was for the summer. And then I had to get out of it because it wasn't a good relationship for me. It was exhausting. So what should have been good turned into a negative. So I had to find a way around that. Do you ask for help around your house? Or is it that we think they'll never do as good a job as I can do, so I'm not going to ask for help, because then I'm just going to have to go back and redo it. Do you ask for help at work? Are you afraid that people will think you can't handle the job if you ask for help? Or it's faster to do it yourself than to train someone? I am famous for things like that, because it does take time to train people. But here's the deal. If I don't have to do the job the next month, then I have now freed myself up from months and months of work, just taking the extra time to train someone. Start jotting down all the areas where you can use help, and then jot down the fears that you have around them, and write those fears down and how you'll overcome them. I'm going to just put her, oops. I don't know what I did. Okay. Ask yourself why you have such a hard time opening up to other people. Was it bad experiences, or was it someone or something from your past? What is keeping you closed off? If no is your go-to for a new goal, your new goal is to say say yes as much as you possibly can. Own your yes. Own it. It's okay to say yes. I'm going to do real quick is I want to just put you guys on mute. I don't see how to do that. So there we go. All right. Okay. Number 3, this one's interesting. Because it's interesting. Okay. Are you a controller, or do you have a controller in your life? So controllers come in many, many forms. They can be manipulators. They can be those that send you on a guilt trip for saying no. They can be seducers. They can be those that wear you down and they just stay at it until they have you where they want you, AKA your kids, or straight up bullies. So controllers are typically those that don't care about people's boundaries. They care nothing about them, and they simply do not hear the word no. They insert themselves into your business. They are up in everybody's stuff all the time. And that may be where we don't have such great boundaries. We need to pay attention to the sneaky ways that controllers mask themselves, or things that we try to control mask themselves. So I want you to think about you and the people around you. So I have been a controller, and I really haven't had controllers around me much, or I caught it soon enough. But this was many, many, many years ago when I was a controller, and I'll tell you that story. But are you being helpful? Do you feel like, oh, I'm being really helpful? Or you're looking out for someone? You're being a good friend. You're being a good parent. What roles do you play in other people's lives? And then start looking at your motives. Are you trying to help all the time? Like if you have a friend who's getting a divorce, do you decide, oh, I'm going to move in with them? I have a friend that did that with somebody, moved in, was going to help him take care of everything, and it was a disaster. Are you doing it to make yourself feel valued and needed and wanted? Are you obsessed with something? Are you too close for comfort with them? Start looking at relationships and the thoughts that may conjure up, and start paying attention to those. Who do you check in with every day, multiple times a day? Or who checks in with you multiple times a day? So, and you have to look, like my kids text me multiple times a day, or I text them multiple times a day. I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm just talking about other relationships you have that may take on a new bend. Do you give unsolicited advice to people? Are you using platonic friendships to fill a void for an intimate relationship? Do you spend more time thinking about how to better someone else's life than your own? Hell, it's easier to fix somebody else than it is ourselves, right? What are your motives when you're doing things like that? Boundary issues around control are a little bit different than saying yes all the time or saying no all the time, and learning to navigate those. So we have to be honest with ourselves and really look. Is there somebody that you try to control? And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's, you just need to be aware. I was never aware until. Do we smother our kids with our own emotional needs because they're grown or they're gone, or we know they're leaving because they're, in high school, whatever that may look like. Years ago, and I may have told you guys this story. I had a friend that I had to take care of. I felt horrible for her. Like, they were broke for a short time. They were homeless. They lived in a hotel. She had 4 kids, and I could make her life better. I knew I could make her life better. So I actually did all those things. I gave unsolicited advice. I inserted myself. I gave them money. I did all those things, all in the name of trying to be helpful. What it was I felt like that made me needed and had value, and I had some worth, because I was helping somebody. And I honestly thought I was doing everything right for them. And we were friends for many, many, many years. And this is actually when that relationship kind of went sideways. We had things that went on with the kids, and that relationship just went sideways. It was a blessing. And I didn't know until that relationship came to an end and where that was. I started seeing the boundaries and seeing where I had taken away any power that she had. I was trying so hard to be helpful that I stymied her and made her codependent. So we really need to take stock of why we do things, why we need to do things, and who or what needs we're trying to fill. Are we trying to fix other people's problems because it makes us feel valuable or smart or helpful, seen, loved, powerful? Those I think are so important. I think too, like, how many, before we had kids, or if you don't have kids, have we given advice to people about raising kids, right? And you see it all the time. When, I guess I see it all the time because I'm aware of it, but people always telling other people how to raise their kids. Well, is it because your kids are a mess and you want to be a better parent or look like a good parent, or you think you know? A lot of times people think they know and they've never had kids, and then you have kids and you're like, I didn't know crap about crap. And they're all different, right? Do we manipulate others so that we can feel powerful or have control over them? Or are you in a relationship where somebody's doing that to you? Do we insert ourselves too much into, like, our kids' lives and taking away the empowering that they can have by having dialogues with adults and learning to navigate those things? Are we taking that away from them? When we jump into things like that, I feel like we're saying oftentimes, regardless of the relationships or who it is, that we're saying, oh, you can't handle this, let me do it for you. Where we can empower them to have that conversation with you first, so they feel like they have some control, and then go and have it with the actual person. Are we trying to help people save marriages because our own is a mess? Do we need all the things for someone else to have that value? What fears come up if you're doing those things to someone, or someone's doing them to you? What fears come up as you start to back off or ask them to back off? I had a thought and now it's gone. It was a personal story. I hate when that happens. When we allow others to have control over us, we're giving our power to them, and it fills their needs. But what needs are we filling for them? And if it's someone you're close to, can we get to the bottom of that? We have to just jot down and begin working through those needs. Boundaries are about taking care of you, your wants, your needs, and accepting boundaries of those around you. So we want to avoid feelings of isolation, pain, yuck, just the gross things that are going on. So sometimes we won't set boundaries, or we set them as a wall. Boundaries can sound like they're cutting people off or blocking them, or somehow that we're demanding something from them, when that's not the truth. Boundaries allow you freedom from chaos. So how do you go about setting them? Are you shy about it? Do you get upset if somebody sets boundaries around you, or they not around you, somebody sets a boundary and you feel like they're overstepping or shutting you off? Hopefully now you can look at that and say, nope, they're just taking care of themselves right now. So there's many boundaries we can set. We're going to start with physical boundaries. So physical boundaries are being okay with telling people you don't want to be touched, or that you need space, or that you're hungry, or that you need to rest, whatever that looks like. Healthy physical boundaries. You guys know I'm not a hugger. And it's funny now because I have people say, well, I don't want to hug you. I'm not that bad. If you know me, you can hug me. I'm just not hugging strangers. That's all that is. Telling people you're tired. Like if you can't do something, you're tired, let them know I'm tired and I need to rest. That you need to eat. How many times have we gone without grabbing something to eat because we're out with somebody else doing something, and we choose not to eat? Or if you have allergies to certain foods, we maybe not tell them. Or if we have food restrictions for whatever reason, it's okay to set those boundaries and tell people, and we should be okay accepting that from somebody else. Physical boundary violations feel like receiving inappropriate touch, being denied physical needs, or having somebody come into your physical space. The other one is like going into rooms that without asking first. I know with my kids, like, yes, their room was their room until I had reason to go in there. And if I felt like they were up to something, then I would go look. Emotional boundaries are about respecting and honoring people's feelings and energy. Setting emotional boundaries looks like recognizing how much emotional energy you can take at one time. We have friends that energize us, and we have friends that don't. And so it's being aware of who those people are and where you're at with your energy at that time, and to plan accordingly when you're with them. It's important to know who to share things with and who not to share things with, and know their limits as well. I don't feel like we should share a lot of things with emotional sucking people, right? Like they will take it right out of you and won't understand. So you have to have those people in your life that you can share with. It may sound like respecting boundaries may sound like, when I share my feelings with you, I get criticized. So I'm not going to do that anymore. Or it makes me feel totally shut down. It's sharing with someone that, hey, you do this to me. And if somebody shares that with you, being willing to accept that. Or if you know you're not in a space to take somebody else's energy at that time, saying, hey, I know it sounds like you're having a really tough time. I'm not in a space to take that on right now. Can we talk at another time? If you really need to talk with somebody, ask them, do you have time to talk? Emotional violation would look like dismissing and criticizing people, asking questions that are inappropriate for the relationship, reading or going through personal or emotional information without being asked, like unsolicited, just picking up somebody's phone and going through it, asking people to justify their feelings. People don't have to justify their feelings. Their feelings are their feelings. You don't have to justify your feelings. Assuming we know how people feel. Not everybody feels like us, and it's easy to assume that they do. So just be aware of that. Telling people how they feel. How many times have people said to you, oh, well, you shouldn't feel like that. You should be fine with that. This, whatever it is, you can feel how you want to feel. Emotionally dumping on people. Have you ever been emotionally dumped on before? Where you're like, okay, we want to make sure we're not doing that to people. Time boundaries are the next thing. They are probably the most valuable, I feel like, because time is the one thing that you can never, ever get back. When it's gone, it's gone. It's your most precious commodity. So setting time boundaries is incredibly important at work, at home, and socially. It means understanding how not to overcommit. How many times do we overcommit? And then look at your calendar for the week and think, oh my gosh. So it's okay to look on Sunday night, look at your calendar. And if you are overcommitted, take something off your plate. Take it off, call up and just say, I can't do this. I've overcommitted. When you understand your priorities, it's much easier to limit your time and then time with people. It's okay to say, we can't do this weekend. We have plans as a family. Or, hey, I can come over, but I can only stay an hour. Or yes, you can come over, but you can only stay an hour. I would love to help you, but I'm overcommitted and I can't, or I'm not going to overcommit myself. Whatever that looks like. So violating time boundaries is one of those things I don't think people think much of. And I think that's because we assume people have time, but I know the vast majority of people that I know are overcommitted a lot. And so we need to set boundaries when we work, and you have to find out what works best for you. For me, I can sit and work for about an hour and then I need to get up, go change a pace, whether it's just, go get something to eat, go outside for a quick walk. One of the things I've implemented just the last couple of weeks is going outside for 5 or 10 minutes and just taking a quick walk and coming back in to sit and then work again, because I feel fresher. My mind is now re-engaged. I could sit and do something for hours, and I've done that before, hours and hours, totally absorbed. But I don't think that's healthy either, because you got to get up and just do a little change of scenery every once in a while. It means time blocking. Do you need to time block your schedule? I have a friend who teaches a 90-day success program, and she time blocks everything. She time blocks her personal time, her workout time, her meal prep, her family time, her meal, everything has a time block. And she totally believes that when she does that, she's working in her own power, that she doesn't overcommit, and that she uses her time more wisely. So you have to decide what works best for you. I don't time block quite that far, but with having several different businesses, I do have to time block days or within days what I'm doing. So just keep in mind that time is the one thing you can't get back. And so be serious about time blocking. All right, intellectual boundaries, mental boundaries. Intellectual boundaries refer to your thoughts, your ideas, and your curiosities. Healthy boundaries include respect for the ideas of others, and they can be violated when your thoughts or curiosities are shut down, when people tell you, well, that's dumb, or you're dismissed, right, or belittled. Respectfulness and willingness to dialogue and understand others is important. All right. So healthy boundaries might sound like, I know we disagree, but I won't have you belittle me like that. If somebody belittles you, or I won't have you speak to me that way, whatever that looks like. I would love to talk more about this, but I don't think this is an appropriate time, right? How many people don't like family holidays because you may not agree with everybody around your table? It's okay to say, we're not going to talk about this now. We're going to enjoy this time. We can talk about it later. When we talk about this, we don't get very far. I think it's a good idea to avoid the conversation for right now. We do have people that you can totally disagree with. I think we've seen that more and more the last couple of years with the political climate, what it is, just all of it. Just all of it. I have never seen people be so rigid in their thoughts and beliefs and their unwillingness to understand that somebody else may have a completely different thought, and it's okay. It doesn't mean that you have to be accepting of all thoughts and opinions. I don't believe that. I think it's important to recognize the differences. I think it's important to be respectful and to be healthy about those differences. If someone is sharing an opinion that's harmful to any person, whether it's racism, sexism, whatever it is, homophobia, like we could go on and on. Draw a line in the sand. I'm completely good with that. Like we have to know what our own boundaries are around that. And so I think it's perfectly fine to draw a line in the sand. And you have to set your boundaries your own way. It may sound like letting the person know you don't agree with them, that you're not going to tolerate that kind of talk, whatever that is, distancing yourself from them. Some people cut people off for various reasons. But we don't have to have the intellectual discourse. We don't have to put up with someone violating you. And it's okay to set those boundaries and set them clearly. Material boundaries. This is another one, like your possessions, like what you share with other people, your car, your home, your money, your jewelry, furniture, clothes, I don't know, whatever it is that someone may want to borrow from you. It's healthy to understand that you can and cannot share different things, right? And what you expect when you share different things. I never had a sister growing up, so that's probably good because my understanding is they steal clothes from each other all the time. Roommates do the same thing. So like setting up those boundaries very easily. We have cadets here, and the first year they didn't have cars. So I had to decide, was I going to allow them to drive my car? Where could they drive my car? How long could they be gone with my car? I had to set very firm boundaries with them, same way I did with my kids. Are you going to lend somebody money? That's up to you, but what's that boundary feel like for you? Are you going to lend out clothes? Are you clear about when it has to come back and what condition it's in? I think I'm at the age and the stage where it's dishes, right? You take a dish to somebody's house, it may stay there. Like, when do you need that back? Those types of things. Material boundaries are violated just by how somebody treats your things. It's okay not to lend things out to people that you know aren't going to take care of them. And people often use or can use money and possessions as a type of control in relationships. And so be aware of that. Like, is somebody giving you something to have some control, or are you doing that with somebody else? Those are just little ways to check yourself. The more boundaries we set, the more we recognize them, and the more we can help people show up for us, and the more that we can show up for other people and becoming better. Brene Brown says, clear is kind. And I love that because I was like, oh, we just need to be clear. It's kind to you, and it's also kind to them. In order to set healthy boundaries, you have to know your limits. Identify your physical, emotional, time, intellectual, and material limits. Know what makes you comfortable, know what makes you uncomfortable, and just have the courage to choose what makes you comfortable and speak up. Pay attention to your feelings. Basically, when you start feeling resentment, you have to let go. You have either let go of boundaries or let other people into your space, regardless of what that looks like. So pay attention to your feelings. We all have stuff. We all have stuff we have to work through, and we all deal with thoughts and feelings differently. There is stuff that we would rather stuff down and power through. I was that person for a super long time. I didn't really deal with feelings. I would just chalk it up to, nope, I'm good, whatever. I'm just going to push through and power through this. And it doesn't work that way. And I wish it did, because it would be much easier. However, that is where like life coaches come in, right? Once we start to look at our thoughts and our feelings, we can start to change the way that we react and the way that we act towards other people. And so that's just one thing I want to leave you with. Have you ever thought about, do I need somebody that can help me process feelings? Maybe you do, and maybe you don't. Some people are great at it. I have a friend that is the greatest journaler I have ever seen. She can extrapolate thoughts out of just writing things down. And I do find when I'm stuck or I'm I just like thoughts keep coming back and coming back and coming back. If I go and write them and continue to write them and just keep writing whatever is coming to my mind without thinking about it, it's amazing the type of things that will come up for you. And so I just encourage you to be willing to jot down those thoughts, stop stuffing them down, set the boundaries that you need to set, and be clear with other people. All right, that's a lot of me talking. So hopefully you got some good tips. You've got some great things that you can start to utilize. I will email you all the replay of this so you have it. And I think that's it for today. So have an awesome rest of your day. It's beautiful here today. You both had ceiling fans on at one time, so it's warm where you are. So we're heading that way tomorrow. It's supposed to be warm here. So have an awesome day, and I will be seeing you soon. Bye.